Hey mommies, we updated our channel memberships.
For $5 a month, you get updated badges, new emojis,
No ads on YMH and Two Bears.
and you get early access to both YMH and Two Bears.
For just $10 a month, you get...
Early access and no ads on all shows.
And for $20 a month, you get all of both tiers.
And proof that you're not a fat poor. Click the join button on our YouTube homepage or right above the description of any one of our episodes. What are you waiting for? Join today.
A large part of his body weight is this dick.
This is who you dated? And then they're like, yeah. And you're like,
Wait, am I one of these guys?
Yeah, am I this? This is the level I'm at?
Like when my dick would get anywhere substantially in her mouth,
Yeah.
my belly button would just, she was getting stopped from blowing me deep.
100%. Cheers.
This episode of Two Bears, One Cave is brought to you by NASCAR. With playoff spots dwindling and a chance to witness the big one at Talladega, you gotta check this race out. Tune in to the Geico 500 on Sunday, April 23rd at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Welcome to the program. Thankfully, my co-host is undergoing triple bypass again. And in his place, very excited to have here a comedian who I've enjoyed for so long, so funny, and his special Dog Belly is available now on YouTube. Please welcome Big Jay Oakerson, everybody.
Nice. What's up, Ed?
Congratulations!
Thank you, Ed.
on the special. I'm very excited to watch it. Where did you shoot, first of all?
We did it at our festival, Skankfest.
Oh, you did a Skankfest
in Vegas. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Ari Shaffir, man, he jumped in there and like right down to setting up chairs.
Oh, really?
At the actual show, yeah, he was.
There's
on
no
top
bigger
of it.
like supporter, real supporter of comedy and comedians than Ari, I think.
Oh yeah,
You know?
No, he dives in.
Like for somebody that has such an ugly side to him, both internally and externally, he also has this like really warmth to him about comedy and comedians.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's also amazing, just like the people who take to him, Ari too, for being like childless as he is.
Yeah,
Like my daughter's 20, but he could do no wrong.
yeah.
There's a new, smash piece on YouTube that was like Ari Shaffir, the evilest man in comedy.
Really?
My daughter watched it and she was like, seems like if you're not Bobby Lee, he's fine.
Didn't he put shit on Bobby's car?
He
Actual
decorated it.
shit? He decorated in his own
Actual
shit?
shit in the door handles.
Yeah, and that's like,
And
that's the evil part, you know?
But I do love, like, Ari's also got a willingness to leave like a grenade of humor and forget about it completely and like walk away. That's what's interesting because, the Bobby Lee thing, what Bobby realized was like, oh my God, there's shit all over my car and in the handles. So he's got to like figure something out to get into the car with the handles.
Yeah.
And then I forget the story. Ari, I forget if it was raining out, whatever the situation was. He was like, well, I got to get something off my windshield. And when he turned his windshield wipers on, he realized that Ari had packed the windshield wipers with shit, so it just smeared shit across his windshield.
See, this is the part of it that you almost have to celebrate. That's the it's the evil scientist of it all, because most people, if they were going to go, I'm going to put shit on someone's car, they would just be like, all right, like just put it in one place.
He has a pile of shit somewhere.
Yeah, put shit on the hood of your car or something, and then you go like, oh my God, and then you get it off. But Ari was like, so everyone's hand goes into the handle.
Yeah.
So I'll smear some shit in there, and then like
he's wearing a smock and a beret.
And then like if you put it on the windshield, like the windshield wipers is like it could not rain for a while, and then shit'll just be like stuck in there, and then when you turn it on, but it happened to rain like that day.
Yeah,
it's pretty ingenious.
He got one of his things is I remember he was at my house one day and he asked if he could use my computer when I went outside to smoke a cigarette. And I was like, sure. Because he had some work to do or something. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then I go about my day. I remember dropping my daughter back off to her mom, and I get a call from my producer from Bonfire on the Sirius, Jacob, and he was panicking. And he goes, I've been trying to get a hold of you for hours. And I'm like, what is it, buddy? And he goes, what's going on? He was like, Comedy Central Radio. It was like, I got an email that was like, don't answer the phone if Comedy Central calls. It looks like we're getting fired. Like, I messed up big. Hang in there. And I'm like, what? I go, who sent that email? And he goes, you did. And then before I could even say what, it was almost like a dream. That dream bubble appears, and I just saw Ari go, "Can I use your computer really quick?" And I'm like, and then I called Ari on three-way to let him enjoy. And I go, Ari, it hit. And he's like, what? I go, the thing you sent to Jacob. And he's like, oh yeah.
Oh,
like he didn't even care about the reward for it.
That thing from a few months back. No, the thing you did today.
yeah. Oh, right. I forgot I started chaos earlier.
That is like the Joker. That is like total, I enjoy chaos.
Yeah, pure chaos.
Pure chaos, yeah.
Which is great, but
what is that thing that they, like, they'll do that chart sometimes where it's like evil chaos, like evil chaotic or whatever, and then they'll like, what is that? And then they'll do like there it is, right? Lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good. Lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. And then sometimes they make this chart with like our comedian friends in them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which one's which?
Yeah, like a who's who. And then, they always, I feel like Ari's always on the evil line.
He's certainly never in the middle. Nothing's neutral.
No. And he's never on the good either.
Yeah. How's your friendship with Ari? No one goes, uneventful.
Yeah, there's that. Diaz is always on there somewhere too.
And then Bert's probably always in the good.
Yeah. I think he's a chaotic good, right? Wouldn't he be chaotic?
Chaotic good, for sure.
He loves chaos, but he's a real genuinely sweet dude.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how he does it sometimes.
It's a very unusual like personality where he's like fun, and you're like, where's the, like, people who like that much fun?
The darkness is somewhere.
Yeah, and like darkness really isn't like,
none.
Yeah, there's no real darkness there. Yeah, but to Bert, we were talking about how it must be so nice and liberating to have zero body shame.
Yeah.
But then you also realize a big part of that is delusion. He's actually delusional, right? Because he even was saying, he goes, I grew up in shape. So he goes, I think I'm in shape now.
He always sees that. I mean, it's the opposite of what I say.
Yeah. He's you know how people go, you're too hard on yourself, right? Like, and they'll tell you, like, if you say something critical of yourself, whether it's about your stand-up, whatever, yourself as a father or your body, right? They'll go, like, if you go like, I fucking suck, or I look like shit, they're like, would you talk to your friend like that? Like, someone you care about, and you're like, no, I would speak to them differently. And they go, that's how you should speak to yourself, right? Like, that's always the thing, is like, speak to yourself in a way that you would talk to somebody else who was shaming themselves. And you're like, okay. And then he's just like, I look great.
I'm doing phenomenal.
He's like,
and he goes,
I'm jacked. One time there was an article written about him, and I called him up because I read the article, and I go, Bert, there's a quote in here from you where it says, and that the words, like, it goes, Kreischer then says, I'm a fantastic comedian. I go, you actually said that in an interview? And he was like, I am. And I was like, yeah, but you let other people say that. You don't say, I'm a fantastic.
I'm really good at this.
I'm really good at this. But that is like, that's really.
But he's also so sweet, it doesn't put like a target on his back.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Because a lot of people that would be,
Oh, we know a bunch of people who you'd be like, fuck this cunt.
Yeah.
For saying
it's almost like the Chappelle, like I'm the GOAT, and you're like, you got to let someone else say it. Like, there's a strong argument that you are, but relax. It's weird, like when you say it.
It's always weird when you compliment yourself, right? And then he walks in here and he goes, I'm fucking jacked. This is what Bert says about his body. And I'm like, where? And he's like, look at my shoulders. And
I'm
like,
so yoked.
Yeah.
I also think it's funny that he's got like a Girls Gone Wild, like, hairline trigger of pulling his, like, showing his body.
Yeah.
When we went to the Super Bowl thing, they were like, hey, would you guys mind this, like, quick little red carpet, like the Guy Fieri party or something? This quick carpet. And Bert's like, yeah. He's like, right here. And he just goes like just shows his titties and then moves on. Like, I'm like, it's my nightmare is that a little of my shirt might be up and you see like a fat gut coming out of the bottom.
Yeah. Well, like, that's because
the way you're supposed to think.
The way you're supposed to feel about yourself. You're supposed to be like horrified,
full of shame
at what you have. Yeah, I mean, like, and he will do that thing where he goes, do what I do, right? So he'll be like, take your shirt, and you're like, no. And he's like, why not? I'm like, because I don't want to. And he's like, I have shame. And he's like, oh, I don't feel any shame. I look great.
I told some of that last night on the thing, but starting with Kevin Hart in comedy.
Yeah.
When we would go around.
This is so fascinating.
When we would go around like younger and do like shows or like little college things or something.
Yeah.
You know, Kev's confidence, he'd have like girls back at the hotel room. And I just remember the time he's like, dare me to show my dick. So I was like, gotcha. Hey, Kev, I dare you to show your dick. And he's like, okay. And he just pulls out like, it's like a large side part of his body weight is this dick. And like and then again, almost Bert like,
yeah.
I remember because I didn't ask him to do that for me. So his dick's out, and then these girls were like, oh, wow. Oh, boy. And then he goes, hey, he goes, Jay, I dare you to play your dick. You're like, don't do that, dude.
No, don't
Please
do that to me.
What's so funny about that story, when I told it last night, I didn't want to, it wasn't the point of the story, so I moved past it a bit. But that night, it was a real pretty girl, 3 black girls, one very pretty. The other 2 were like, looked like TSA prison guards or something. It was like they had cornrows, but like 5, like 2, and then like 1 down. Like it was not a good look. And then I remember, I think like seeing.
Why is TSA? Why is it like such a popular job in the black community? Like I feel like every other TSA agent is a black lady who's like, sir.
Yeah, and they found out how to like make that uniform work.
We can't wear that belt through here. I'm like, okay, all right, sorry.
Oh, I remember having one time they were swabbing my Xbox for bomb materials, and she was talking to like another TSA guy who had like dreadlocks, and she was like, man, she goes, my girlfriend still doesn't call me yet. She left to go suck some guy's dick in the bathroom last night. He goes, but she's just a whore. And she's like, here you go, sir. He goes, bomb residue free. Welcome to America.
Yeah.
But they have found a way to work that uniform though. They get that belt tight on those small waists.
Oh yeah.
But they're just unpleasant.
TSA?
Like, they're so unpleasant.
Yeah, they are.
And while you're staring at their bodacious bodies, but
I filmed them one time.
Really?
Well, one time I go through, and I was fired up that day, and somebody told me, I don't know, probably something they're supposed to tell me, but I was like, go fuck you. I was just like not having it, and so I walk through because it's very like it's not consistent, I feel like, right?
Not at all.
There's not consistent. That's the part that's like very upsetting sometimes is like, you can't bring that backpack through. I go, I fly with this every week. I don't care if you fly with it every week. And I'm like, it's definitely okay to put this through. And like, I'm like, oh, okay. So, we're having our back and forth. I go, well, it's going through the machine. Go, you check it out, right? And then I walk through and I see like 6 of them get in a huddle and just start conversing. Like about their day, right?
Yeah.
And I'm watching people like go through security. So I just pull out my phone. I'm like, here's America's finest, doing their best
protecting
right now.
Our borders.
Yeah. And I'm just like filming them. And I'm watching people like, walk through, grab. I'm like, no one's getting checked here, right? And as I'm filming, one of them goes, sir? And I go, yeah. She goes, please don't film us. Okay, you can't film. I go, was it like, I can't? I think I can. And she was like, and I just kind of did that for, I don't know, a few seconds. And I was like, you're not going to take this phone, and I'm not going to delete the video. So whatever, I turn it off and then I grab my shit and I go, and, it just was like, it was my version of being like, hey, fuck you for being a,
The TSA get me fired. The people who eat all my airport shit now because they're void of all authority, though you think they do.
Yeah,
is the keep it moving when you're getting picked up.
Oh, right.
From the airport people.
Oh yeah.
I am so quick to be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Go to someone that goes, I can't. When you're watching someone put a suitcase in a trunk, and you still like have that like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
You're like, this isn't.
I know
that thing. I can't move any faster than I'm moving.
And there's you can't do it any fast. And then they'll say it like as you're walking to the door to get in, keep it moving. And you're like, well,
you can't stay here. He goes, right, but this is how leaving the airport works. Every time.
It's they're super. I mean, I feel like it sways how excited they get for doing that. Like sometimes they're really fired up.
Oh, yeah.
LAX for a while was just fucking wild. Like you'd pull up and someone's walking out and they're like, you got to go. I'm like, this is the person I'm picking up right now. Like they just get so fired up about it.
I have most of my life with police and stuff like that. I've always been like, something's illegal with me. Like I have a suspended license that I haven't paid, or tickets, or a warrant for dumb shit. Nothing like, criminal, but like just shit that I would get in trouble for. So I mean, so many, and also cops have never treated me super nice. Yeah. I think because of the way I look or whatever, and tattoos. So since I was like a teenager, I just always kind of got that
aggression from them.
Yeah. And then, man, once I realized I had nothing, like, it really is fun to mouth off to cops when there's really not much they can do. You know what I mean? I do love, I've really gotten, that's the most white thing about me is how I will talk to cops now. I'm like, you guys fucking suck at your job. And they really can't do much about it. They're like, get out of here. Because there's no real reason I have to get out of here, but you fucking suck.
Yeah, that feels good.
It really does feel good because it's just like, I do like respect the idea of police so much.
Sure. And they are a necessity. Of
course.
You have to have police.
And there has to be police out there who are really like, they can't sleep because of the case they're on.
Yeah.
But the day-to-day throw on like the blue uniform and like stand at the end of a block in New York waiting for cyclists to go through red lights.
Schlub.
Get towed, like what do you call it? Quotas for your tickets. It's like, it's so lame.
Yeah, it is lame.
He goes, is this why you wanted to do this?
Yeah.
It's just awful.
Yeah, you really have nothing better to do. Like when people say that to cops, it's so cool.
I like when the groups, that's what we were saying earlier about how fun it is watching black people watch magic.
Yeah.
Black people watching another person deal with police officers is also really funny.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Like, 'cause they come to the aid of the person getting fucked with no matter whether
it happened to me.
He ain't even do nothing.
It happened to me at the airport one time where I it's like, speaking of privilege, like I was behind a black dude, and a TSA person was like really like a fucking bitch to me that I got in the wrong line. Mm-hmm. And she was like straight up, I thought she was, it was clear she was trying to embarrass me in front of people. Mm-hmm. She was like, does this say, are you in first class? And I go, I just upgraded, because I went to a desk and they go, do you want to upgrade? And I said, yes, and I paid for the upgrade. She's like, this doesn't say first class. Can you not read your ticket? It was like one of those things. And I was like,
can you not read your ticket? It's pretty condescending out of the gates.
And as soon as she said that, I just like, my heart rate just spiked. And I was like, okay. And then she let me go through. And the guy had heard how she spoke to me, the black dude. Mm-hmm. And now we're putting her stuff, because she was the one who checks it like at the first line, and then you go to the machines, right?
Sure.
And I put it on the machine, and I'm just like, the fucking cunt. And he was like, yeah, just he was like, just that wasn't cool, but like, just like,
be cool,
yeah, like we're, you're almost through here. I go, no, fuck that bitch. And he's like, you don't want to do that. And I go, watch this. And then I go, are you the supervisor? And he was like, he turns around and he was like, you're gonna, like, he was looking at me like, you're gonna get in trouble, And I was like, no, I'm not. And I go, hey, that fucking pig over there can't talk to me. And the lady goes, excuse me? And then I just made it loud, and I was extra grotesque and disrespectful in the way that I spoke. I go, if you put a pig in the front of the line to check people, that talks to people, and I did this whole thing, and this guy was like, like, I can't believe you're speaking like this. And I was just like venting about the way that she did. And then I explained to the lady, the supervisor was like, she shouldn't have spoken to you like that, but you don't need to call her a pig. And I was like, I go, well, she doesn't need to act like a pig, does she? And then he just looked back at me he was like, see you later, man. Like, you're on your own. This episode of Two Bears, One Cave is brought to you by NASCAR. This weekend, the NASCAR Cup Series is headed to its biggest and baddest track, Talladega Superspeedway. For those of you that don't know, this track is an absolute monster. It's 2.5 miles of nothing but pure speed. The drivers are going to be battling it out at almost 200 miles per hour, just inches away from each other for 500 miles. It's going to be an epic race to watch, with playoff spots dwindling and a chance to witness the big one at Talladega, you have to check out this race. Tune in to the Geico 500 on Sunday, April 23rd at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially because you're always growing and changing. I have grown. I mean, I'm crying a lot lately. If you told me 5 years ago, you're going to cry maybe like once a week, I'd be like, yeah, I don't cry. I was raised not to cry. And I just realized I'm getting older. I'm getting a little more sensitive to the things in life. Little things are making me either overwhelmingly happy or sometimes sad. Here's the deal. I'm in therapy, so I'm dealing with it. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk things through, like crying. You know, they call me like the guy, everyone I get on a podcast, everyone thinks I'm going to cry on their podcast now. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. If you're thinking about giving therapy a try, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/bears today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/bears.
Yeah, he goes, I can't argue with TSA and Whitey on the moon.
Yeah. Back to Kevin Hart's dick, though.
But that'd have been funny, though, if you also, that was the bonding moment between you at TSA agent. She goes, can you not read your ticket? And you go, can you not read my ticket? And she goes, and you go, hey, let's work together.
Let's work together. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kevin Hart's dick, it's a monster.
Yeah.
And then...
so the three girls, that's where we were at.
Three girls are in there. You know, it ended up working out for him with the one. So these are days of sharing hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a question.
So it's it's a huge dick.
His dick is enormous, and he goes in the bathroom with one of the girls, and then it was making the other two horny for sure, hearing them, because it was the noises of, I thought maybe murder, but it was, I just never heard those noises before.
Yeah.
I've never hit that spot that makes those noises, I guess. But this girl was just getting power railed, and to tell you how long ago it was, The Matrix had just come on HBO, and it was running, and I saw it in the theater. And I remember being annoyed by the Matrix movie. Not that I enjoyed the movie, but I was so annoyed that every person who like all of a sudden thought they were a philosopher was like, makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, really, like maybe that's what we're in. It goes, I don't think so. But man, those girls were like, what do you want to do? You're like, oh God. Yeah. And they're like, what do you want to do? And I was like, have you seen this yet? It makes you think. I'm like, maybe this isn't even all, maybe they're not even fucking in there. It's just two robots smashing into each other.
Holy shit. How, do you guys link up, you and Kev, just by doing local spots? Like,
how, when we first became friends? Yeah. I started, it was weird. It was such a cool, like, group of three to become like friendly. It was I started the week after I started my first open mic. I met Kurt Metzger. Yeah. And then like 2 weeks after that, Kev started. Yeah.
And you guys would just drive around and do.
Yeah. But I mean, what like it's so amazing when you see that thing in somebody though. He's very like I'm so impressed with Kevin, what he did when we were like brand new. So it's a person that's Bert probably has a similar thing in that regard. Yeah. In that, like when we started, I remember I'd pick him up to go play basketball, and this is like when we're doing, if not at most 15-minute spots, maybe on some black shows or something, but like nothing. We got 15 minutes, and I'm picking him up, and he's like, "Hey, before we go to the rec center, can you take me to the post office real quick?" And he's got manila envelopes with a VHS tape in it and a shitty headshot that's not really even a headshot with a fake, not a rep, but a 2-line resume or something. Yeah. I'm sending it off to this person, it's a college promoter, and this person, and it's just those things where I was like, and I was every level up I had in comedy at all, like, I mean, from like going from like hosting to featuring, the head was someone else telling me it was like time to do that. Yeah. I was never like, why am I not a headline? When they were like, I don't want you to open for any of these people, because why don't you just like come in and headline? You're like, what? 45 minutes alone? Yeah. Like, who's going to come watch that? Like, I've never, so it's a very interesting thing to watch that. Like,
I do remember meeting Kevin early on a couple times where I was like, man, this guy's charisma is wild. Because one of the first times I met him, I remember him going like, I go, hey Kev, I'm Tom Segura. He goes, oh man. And the way he looked at me, he goes, yeah, man, a lot of people saying like a lot of great things about you, and nobody was, right? When he met me. But like he made me go, like, in my head I wanted to say, hey, you're lying. Like,
Yeah.
But also I was like, he did it in a way that like a politician would do
Sure.
it, where you go, that feels good to get that person's attention.
Sure.
And he just locked in and made you feel like in that moment that you're the only person that matters.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's like a movie star quality. You
Yeah.
know, that's like a star quality.
No, it is. It took years for me to just kind of get to a point where I was just like, at that point, I'm like, go get it, dude. Like, kill it. Like, none of these things were things I was looking to do.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I didn't want to go. I remember we were young and it was like, you know, what's up? He goes, I got to go to Bulgaria to shoot a movie for 2 months. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That seems like a weird world. Like, I also don't want to do that.
Right.
So it's like, but yeah, he saved my ass many times because, again, like, as far as like the shadow cast, like when me, Kurt Metzger, and him went to New York and Keith Robinson kind of brought us up there, it was fun. Like, I mean, how fast they were like, look at you, little guy, and non-threatening and funny and charismatic. Like, get in here. And then they almost like put a hand on me and Kurt's chest. Like, we've got a zillion of you.
Oh,
Like,
right.
It's like, just, you'll be on at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, get in here, you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually, there's a great video Maya DiGiorgio took years ago. It's Patrice's, I think it's Patrice's roast. It might be Barry Katz roast, but at the Boston Comedy Club in New York. And we are young in comedy. And it's Patrice, Rich Voss is like still smoking cigarettes and everything. Jim Florentine's out there and everyone's in a circle. And it's Kev in the middle of the circle, brand new comic. And Patrice and him are like jawing back and forth and busting balls with Keith Robinson. And it's going back. And he goes, Patrice goes, Kev thinks he's so in, like he's got so much confidence, thinks he's so in, that he thought he can endorse, and he just points to me in the very background. It's me and Kurt Metzger, just boyish face. He goes, that's why he thinks he can endorse Jay, and Quentin Tarantino face over. He just goes Metzger Quentin. That's also times when they would insult us and we would just be in the back like, they know we are.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
is so cool.
This is so cool.
But he was like right in the mix, man. I never like, God bless him, man. It's interesting. Very like cool thing to watch. Like someone who just has that like just move forward thing. Because also the things that happen to him, like the successes obviously are unbelievable, but like he had to get through some weird like failures that would have crushed me, especially because I would have thought like I got pushed too forward.
Yeah.
And now it's like, and
I
I'm
should
exposed.
retreat.
I'm exposed.
Yeah.
Like I can't carry a thing because he had like, I remember when we were still talking like relatively often is when he got that, he did a sitcom. It was like a reverse Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
It was like a rich kid moving back with his like poor family in Philly. 6 episodes. Gone. I don't even remember him like lamenting it in any kind of way.
Just moved on.
He's like, yeah, no, I got a bit part in this
forward.
movie, and
Yeah.
they're giving me a little thing in a 40-Year-Old Virgin, and I just like, and it just kept going for him. He never like stopped.
Most people would be like, I'm done. Yeah.
I would be like, wow, I just had that moment. And so, and that happens to people. You know what I mean? There's like so many comics that I don't think are even working today who at one point had a sitcom that was just their last name.
I feel, yeah.
You know what I mean? They had like some run of a sitcom that was their name.
Wow. I don't remember.
And then, the Big House.
I remember, I feel like I saw a clip of, I don't know if you guys were, I think you guys were on a radio show together in the more recent, like let's say in the last 5 years or something.
Me and Kev?
Yeah. Does that make sense?
What was it?
Well, or maybe it was them telling Kev about you saying this, that you had said, I would bet that there's no way Kevin knows what pyrotechnics means.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, that's true. That's true. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you have pyrotechnics on your arena shows.
Yeah, I get so annoyed with it. I know because he really he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I remember that when him and Keith would like turn on me in the car just to keep us all awake to drive back to Philly. Because we were going from Philly to New York, back to Philly every night. And they would just start like, and they would just catch me. They would just get me. They just knew how to like rile me up.
Yeah.
And I remember the one thing was like, the word was misogynist. And I was like, it's these 2 black guys in the front of the car while I'm in the back, like, you don't even know what that means, Kev, misogynist. And he's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, what does it mean? He goes, it means you're a bitch. Ah! Everyone starts laughing. Other black people start laughing and throwing their arms up. And you're like, and they make fun of you for like, oh, I'm Jay. I know words. Who gives a shit? And you're like, how am I the asshole here?
I'm Jay. I know words.
He got me though. He was a good friend. And one thing, when I was, I had a long-term girlfriend when me and him first met, and she like dumped me hard. She started like fucking somebody else.
Yeah.
And Kev was like watching that. And I remember such an embarrassing moment of like, we're driving to New York in my shitty car at one point, and she calls up, and she was like, it was like the 5th time that she was doing like I think I may have made a mistake. Could we hang out tomorrow and maybe talk? And everything she said, I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever will get you. But by the way, it's such one of those funny moments that I think we all have. I used to talk constantly about breaking up with her.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yeah, she's kind of dumb. And like, I think it was just like my local girlfriend that I've had forever. I'm kind of like experiencing life a little more now. We got to break up. And then she was like, I'm fucking somebody else. I was like, no, please never leave me.
Yeah.
And I remember Kev was kind of knew I was going through that. Actually, the first thing that was funny was the way I found out she was fucking somebody else.
Yeah.
Was we went home. We came home from New York and went to Keith's house. And we decided we were going to play video games for a bit, middle of the night. And I was like, oh, what I had for her was voicemails, like a beeper basically with a voicemail, and we can call and leave each other messages, like kind of late at night. She lived with her folks. So I was like 19. She lived with her folks, so that's the way she would like get messages to each other.
Yeah.
So I left a message being like, hey, I'm actually not going to be around in the morning. I'm hanging at Keith's. I'm going to sleep in it. And then we decided not to play video games, so I called back to just erase the message.
Yeah.
And it was like, you have 2 messages. And I was like, the first one plays, and it was just some guy being like, yo, I had a great time tonight. We got to do that again soon. And but I mean, it couldn't be more overtly like they probably fucked, or at very least like, hung out and did something.
Yeah.
And it was that you sit up awake all night waiting to get a hold of her.
Oh, no.
And when she answered the phone, like she gave the worst excuse, but you just want to believe it.
Yeah.
She was like, that's the guy who's like getting your PlayStation 2 for Christmas for you. So real nice. And I was like, oh shit. And you want that to be the reason?
For sure, yeah.
And I remember getting in the car that night with Keith and Kev and being like, they're like, so what happened with it? I'm with them when they heard the email or the voicemail. And they go, so what happened? And I was like, guys, great news.
It's not what we thought it was. She's not fucking this guy.
And then hearing me say it out loud to them, I go, here's what it was. Like, that guy's actually works at a store.
He's the plug for electronic equipment.
You can't get PlayStation 2s. Well, this guy's making sure.
And they had a great time setting up that deal.
The guy could have been more like, I can still taste you on my mouth. And you're like, oh, that guy seems pretty all right. That's cool. Like, was that the price you had to pay to get my PlayStation 2? What's funny about that is that was all like, and then it turns out it was fucking the guy, and it started breaks up. One of them, when she came over, people love this. It was Christmas
Did they
Eve.
clown you, by the way, for that? Or were they like empathetic?
Oh, when I'm back. Oh, yeah. So I was like, guys, guess what? Not empathetic at all.
Yeah.
In fact, it's an interesting school of thought that I've always, even in hindsight, go back and back. I think they did the exact right thing. When I was young, who gives a shit? Such like a young relationship
They're
that
like,
was
"You
probably going to
dumb
go nowhere near.
Yeah.
But one, giving me shit for believing that at all.
Yeah.
Make fun of it. But also, like, when we actually broke up and I was, doing like the mope and the gloom and doom and go home at night and look at a picture of her while I was in bed. We get in the car and they were like, get over it, man. He goes, he's got your headshot on her back while he's bending her over a couch and like all this stuff. Like, oh God. But they were being so funny about it. You're like, I guess it is kind of snap you back to reality.
Sure.
But she kept kind of wavering back and forth, and every day she would come over. Like I'd be like, "Yeah, come over." And so one of them, it was Christmas Eve. I guess I don't know if she wanted like a present for me or what. I don't know what it was, but she called me to be like, "I made a huge mistake.
How much time has passed
get back
this
together?"
point?
So probably over the course of like a month.
Okay.
Of this is happening, and she goes, "I'm going to come over. I want to give you your Christmas presents." And I thought we were broken up.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything. I was like, "Oh shit." I'm like, this chick got me a PlayStation 2. I was like,
She had a fucking guy to get it, but she got it.
I was like, she got me a PlayStation 2. I got to go get a gift, and I'm broke. And I go to a jewelry store and spend like $70 on some kind of a ring. That's but it's everything I have.
Yeah.
And I remember she comes over, and I was like, "Let me give you a gift first." And I give her this ring. It's not an engagement ring of any kind. It didn't even look like that, but it was just a ring.
A ring.
And I was like, "I got you this," and she's crying. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is amazing," and everything. She also came in the house empty-handed, so I'm like, maybe she has stuff in her car or something. And we're sitting in my mom's living room, just me and her. No one's home, and she goes, "All right, you ready for your presents?" And I was like,
"Yeah."
Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Close your eyes," and I go, "Okay." And I close my eyes, and I guess in her pockets, it's 3 pretty small boxes. I'm like, "Okay." And I opened the one. It was the 3 things were, I didn't smoke weed at this point in my life yet either, so this didn't make any sense to me. It was incense with an incense holder. These are like all impulse purchases you can see she made. She worked at Kmart in the cologne section. Mm-hmm. She got me from the dollar store's version of, it says that, it's like Dollar General's version of Tommy Hilfiger Sport or something.
Cool.
Yeah, like, okay.
And she works there, so it's free, right? It's free to her.
She worked at a place that had real cologne.
Oh, and she went to the
dollar store next door and got me a dollar version. She could have stole one for free of a nice one. So I got this thing, incense cologne, and the incense holder, and I was kind of just confused by it. I'm like, okay. And she goes, "Now, are you ready for your real present?" And I was like, oh. Yes, I think I did this.
Yeah.
She goes, "Close your eyes again." And then when she says open them, it's again, I'm like, man, I have to close my eyes for a while you go get this PlayStation 2. She, again, in 10 seconds goes like, "Open your eyes." And I open them, and she has a knot of cash. And she goes, "I wasn't able to get the PlayStation 2. And she slices off 3 20s and goes, "Get yourself a PlayStation 1 game, though." Slides me the cash. By 2 hours later, she'd already called back and been like, "I'm sorry, I'm actually leaving you." Like it was insane. But I was saying about Kev one time when we were driving, and she called and did one of those things like, "I think we should get back together." And then Kev, this is so humiliating. Kev grabbed the phone and he's like, "Cheryl, stop fucking with my boy, man. Like, you're killing him. Like, it's driving him nuts. Like, you're just back and forth. Like, either you're getting back with him or leave him or don't call him anymore." And I'm in the background going like, don't listen. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Dude, I remember him putting the phone down and give me like a little baby like in the face. Like, the fuck is wrong with you, man? It was such a real like friend move. I was like, yeah, what the hell am I doing?
That is, everybody needs.
I'm like, please don't say that. Don't say that to her.
Yeah, of course. You don't want that to go. But that is that's a good friend.
That was a very good friend. Because some people just be like, man, hang in there.
The whole time. The whole way. Yeah.
Have you thought about writing her a song? Like, give bad advice. Have you thought about really humiliating yourself more?
You could play it, like you could sing the song from the street up to her window.
You got a boombox you can hold over your head for a while.
You go to throw a rock and you just smash the window. It's just like, what the fuck? And you're like, Cheryl.
I love like forced dramatic moments too. Like, I kind of knew where the guy she left me for, like, sort of knew where he lived, like the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And when I would come back from New York at night and drop everybody else off, I would like drive through the neighborhood and be like, I don't even know what I was waiting for. It was like the taxi driver. I'm looking for her silhouette to like start going down on a huge cock shadow. I'm like, what am I looking for even if I found them? Like, do you ever find out who it was, or do you know who it was? She married the guy ultimately.
Oh, you should. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know what he looks like?
I wouldn't know.
The funny, I always think like it's funny when you ever like you're dating someone or like talking to your, and then mentions an ex, and you have the conversations and you're like, okay, and then you're fine with it, but then you see a photo, and I feel like your fear register is like that the person is always going to be like better. Right? And you're like, oh man, this person can be better. But ever see someone you're like, this is the guy? Like when you're like, this is who you dated? And then they're like, yeah. And you're like, God, like this is fucking embarrassing for you, right?
I know.
Like,
and then you're also like, wait, am I one of these guys?
Yeah, am I this? That's what you start to go. You're like, this is the level I'm at? Because I'm with you.
It's, dude, one of the funniest things that we ever had. Me and my girlfriend now, Christine, have been together for a long time, like 11 years now. And when we first started dating, also people I think have a different impression. If they only know me from like stage, maybe this is before broadcasting and stuff. Really, like I think they thought my personality was a lot different, maybe even wilder than it actually is at all. Not
like
a big drugs guy,
or
you're
a sweet guy, and
so I remember we were sitting on a soup in New York somewhere. Just kind of again, it's very early. It's that like you're touching shoulders, everything's still like, smiley and adorable. And I was like, I gotta ask, like, have you ever hooked up with any other comics? Like, you've been around comedy for years. She worked at Comedy Magic Club in L.A. or Hermosa, and then she managed clubs all over New York. And I was like, have you ever hooked up with any other comics? And she was just like, oh yeah. She goes, this is gonna make you laugh. And like she says the person, it's the name doesn't mean it because he's not really around much anymore. But like, he was just like he's a short little guy, kind of weird looking, sweetheart. Yeah, there's nothing negative about him, but just like the look. And she was just like, isn't that funny? And I was like, ha. It was like a thing for the next 3 years of always. Like, I couldn't get past it for so long.
Of course. Which is like, that's the thing, right? Is that I had this conversation with people like, do you ask? Like, because I think the older people get more mature, they go like, they learn not to do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you're like 21, you're like, who have you been with?
Yeah.
Right. And
it matters.
And it matters so much to you.
Oh, those names.
But like all my friends that like date now that are like older, late 30s, 40s, they go like, oh yeah, they go like, I figured out not to ask anything.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just they're like, I can't control it. It's just gonna upset me.
Also, as time goes on, how short life is, you really get like, I remember when I was younger, if they were like, you date a porn star? Like, I would never be able to deal with the jealousy. I'm like, can I date a retired porn star? Like, probably. Who cares? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Like, everyone's seen her fuck. Like, sure.
So what? Yeah.
I've seen Jennifer Lawrence with a load on her face. I'll still go see her in a big budget movie. Like, the world's changed.
Have you seen her with a load on her face?
Oh yeah, and that leak thing.
That had it on there?
Yeah, it's like her with a big old gob on her face.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. That was in her iCloud, right?
Yeah, the fappening.
The fappening.
The fun thing about that fappening was it was so many celebrities.
Yeah. In
that like a lot of them weren't famous yet so much. Do you know what I mean? So now it's like that's the most fun thing when you go, new starlet. So there it is. Jesus. They're like, new star. Oh, good for her. Eyes shut, mouth closed.
Yeah. You
can't teach that.
No.
You can't teach. That's instincts right there.
That is. You gotta really want. I mean, that's it's posed too. It's like, let me get in better light. Like she was like, let me back up. I want to make sure I can see this clearly.
It might be my own insecurity too. I have friends that like film so much of their fucking and sexual things, and I'm just like, I couldn't even imagine like if I was like single and random fucking all the time, like pulling out a phone. I've also had friends that have like pulled out phones and they go, yeah, and then she was like, can you not do that? And I'm like, what the heck? I go, that would make my wiener shrivel up. Yeah. I'd apologize for a half hour.
1000%.
And I'd like leave awkwardly. And I'm so sorry.
I've never considered recording. I'd be mortified to record myself.
I just don't want to see it's like, no, I can't believe it's happening already. I definitely don't want to see what it looks like.
No, because here's the thing. I imagine like, oh, it's probably not great. And then I'd see it. I'd be like, oh, this is way worse than I thought. Like, this isn't good.
I actually, the girl that was saying the breakup story with when like Sony Handycams became a thing. We got one because I wanted to film my comedy sets, but of course, right away. Yeah. She was my girl. She was like the second girl I think I had sex with at that point, maybe third. But it was just me, and like we were kind of learning everything sort of together.
Yeah.
And so we filmed a lot of stuff, and man, the go back on those videos was so bad. I mean, they're gone now because they're child pornography, I believe. Yeah. But it wasn't when I was 17 also.
Yeah.
But those videos, man, I just remember like watching them back, and there was one, we're at my mom's house. So
the decor?
We would, not even that, just the whole scenario was her family didn't like me. They were like trailer people. They lived in a double wide trailer down a dirt road in South Jersey. And and then I would go at like 2 a.m. or something, 1 a.m. She'd sneak out of her house. I would go, God bless her being like this country, woodsy kind of girl, because I was very city and I would have never done this for her.
Yeah.
But she would go walk through a quarter mile of pitch black woods and just emerge from this cul-de-sac where I would like blink my headlights and she would get in my car and we'd go back to my house, quietly go in there and fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then we filmed it a couple times, and just like me, when I would trying to direct someone while they're just trying to fuck, and they're pretty new at fucking also.
Sure.
So whispering to not to wake anybody, and frustrated things like there were so many videos of like, I wish we were of age so these things could live on.
I can feel your teeth.
No, not even that. It'd be like me going, I'm like, you hear me going like, look out, like, look out, look out, look out. And you see her just like take her mouth on my dick and be like, just such young, and you're like do like that, like a snot, like really, and go back to it, and you're like, God. But when I said those,
it's not
those,
hot.
I think the last video I ever took of it, maybe like 3 times I filmed stuff at all, but the last one was the Crusher. I was like, oh, I'm gonna film her like blowing, and I always thought like she was like not great. I didn't know what a great blowjob was, but I was like, this is pretty cool. I bet there's better, but like, you know, we're young. She doesn't really know what she's doing yet. And I just was like, she'll figure it out. And I'm filming her from like the top, blowing me. And then I found out why she was not good at blowjobs, because then I took the angle that I never saw. I filmed like side view of her blowing, which I've never seen like that view necessarily. And man, when I watched that video too, I erased it immediately because I was like, I'll never use this to jerk off. Yeah. Her head, like when my dick would get anywhere substantially in her mouth, my fucking gut, like my belly button would just, she was getting stopped from blowing me deep. Like it was.
So
just,
you were the reason.
Yeah, I was the problem. I would get deeper, but I can't get to it. She had to get. That's when I learned about side blowjobs. Turn your body this way.
Oh, shit.
You can get in there better. Her head, it was so funny. Like, and it's a forcible, like, she was trying, when she would go fast too, it would really like knock her like head back. It was so ridiculous looking. My God. But yeah, I've never, like, as an adult, I've never thought about filming myself.
No, you're right. And there's, people like having that on their phones too. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's not tons of my dick pics out there in the world at all. It was just like, and if I had an awesome dick pic, I'd send it all the time.
That's the thing is that, I mean, I miss the era of that. Like I just, I totally miss the like, but it blows me away now. And I think maybe it goes back to what we were talking about, like body shame and stuff. I was like, I would never want the, I would feel like it's a threat, this threat to have like dick pics floating around. I just always was like, you would probably want to keep that to yourself. I don't know.
Patrice, when he died, I'm not sure if this is, I think it may have still been his screensaver, but I had a thing with a girl, like the very few dirty things. Like this girl I was dating for a while. It was bad situation. I was seeing her behind my ex's back, and she went on a gig with me one time on the road, and I just liked, this is fat insecurity again. I liked this girl solely, but she had so many issues, but she was pretty, she was really thin, really, really thin. And I was just like, huh? Because I'm used to just like the only girls who were ever like making it seem readily available to me were like larger than me. Yeah. And stuff. So I couldn't believe it. And I was like super into this girl. And I remember wanting to be, Patrice ruined her for me completely because I was so excited. I remember she took a picture once on this gig. She came out of the shower and like let me take a picture of her like opening up her. So the pose is she's like opening up her towel. Yeah. Showing her body off. Rail thin. Very small boob, like the whole thing. And I just remember I was showing Patrice, I wanted his nod of like, okay.
Nice job, yeah.
He goes, man, that bitch looks like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. And it really, she's even like, with
the pose with his,
And I never unsaw that again. But I got caught like in that cheating thing.
Oh, you did?
Bad. Real bad. And so I got caught with this thing and I had to leave.
You got caught with the photo?
No. I got caught with just cheating on my ex with her. Like my daughter was so young. It was such a bad situation. All my fault. Admittedly, but like she just like living two lives basically.
Yeah.
Like my nighttime life and my daytime life. And I got caught. Yeah, the way I got caught, we argued. She saw the side girl saw one night that her number was not her name in my phone.
Oh.
And I gave some horrible excuse why that was. I think it was under like, her name was Lauren and it was Larry.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think I had in there as Larry. She's like, why is it Larry? I was like, because the first night we met, I didn't remember your name. I knew it started with an L. She's like, you thought it was Larry? I'm like, I just put it as a placeholder.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why haven't you changed it over these last several months? So I'm like, okay. So I go, I'll change it now. And I changed it to her name with my last name. Almost just like, would I do that if I was, I'm trying to lie to everybody. Would I do that if I was...
Does she know you're like...
She knows that I have a child, but we're not together.
Okay.
Me and but we were. And so she goes, I put her name in there with my last name. And I used to, so ridiculous. That life with the shoulders and the ears that I chose to live was so bizarre to me. I used to turn my phone off and put it in my pillowcase at night just to be like, if I could also have then buried it under something until the morning, I would have done that also. And, but this night, whatever, I didn't turn it off or whatever. I don't know if I just fell asleep because me and that girl were so arguing or something. In the morning, my ex, like my phone, she's like, why does this phone keep going off? And I'm still asleep. She looks at it, it says that girl's name, my last name. She goes, oh, I've never heard of that person in his family or something. Like, I wonder if it's like an emergency or something. She answers it. And while I'm sleeping, 3 hours of them talking and exposing everything while I'm asleep.
3 hours?
3 hours. Yeah, it was awful. I woke up to that.
So you wake up and you're like, oh, like, let me get a coffee.
Yeah.
Like,
I woke up actually. She was in law school my ex at the time. She threw a law book at my face. That's why I woke up like, what happened? And she's like, this. So that's a nightmare situation for sure. And then we go. So when that happens, the timing of that was I was getting ready to do that Cape Town, South Africa Comedy Festival. Mm-hmm. I'm leaving for that like in a week after I get caught. My life's in shambles, but I'm almost like looking forward to getting out of Dodge and going. And I leave, me and my ex-wife, or just even kind of like all right, like let's put a pin in this. I got to do this. Like we have a daughter, so we got to figure something out. We're broke. So like we have to figure what we're going to do here. We ended up staying together after that, weirdly enough. But when I went to Africa, it was a 3-week gig. And I'm sitting, I told this actually on Ari's storytelling show once, but it's so real. About a week into being there, I'm like, this is before cell phones were everywhere too. So you check a voicemail, same thing. And I check my voicemail from the hotel phone. It goes, you have 19 voicemails.
Jesus.
I'm like, okay. And then the first one is a friend of mine who's gay, my friend Wayne, and he goes, hey, pal, I was just on Craigslist, men looking for men, and I saw an ad that is for you. It is a picture of you, and it has my minimal TV credits time, like VH1's Talking Head shows or whatever, and your phone number and whatever, and it's you, and he goes, now, I don't know if this is something that you want out there in the world and you don't want people to know about, but like, I'm going to assume you don't, so I'm going to get it flagged. And then the next 9 or the next 18 messages were guys trying to fuck me. And which was flattering, more than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Although I didn't see what they looked like.
So the ex set this up, right?
So
or
the side girl
did that.
What happened was, but the picture of what it was that day that I took the picture of her, Buffalo Bill. She was like, that's not fair. I got to take a picture of you. And I don't know what zone I was in this day. Because again, I was still very insecure that I thought this girl didn't realize I was fat yet. You know what I mean? Right. Somehow.
Yeah.
And I took a picture in a doorway. A fat guy moved too. Doorway picture.
Yeah.
Naked, arms up, so it stretches everything out. Little after shower wiener. And it poking out, and that's the picture she posted. She took that to almost have like collateral, for her naked picture.
Right.
And I was like, sure, why would this ever be a problem? She put that up on the thing. What I didn't know is that my gay friend Wayne, his solution, because I guess to get something flagged from Craigslist at the time, you have to have a lot of people, like X amount of people flag it.
So
So he just sent it to Patrice and Bobby Kelly and blah, 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 and everyone. And when I went to Patrice's house for Thanksgiving that year with my child and my wife, who I'm back with now, Patrice just, as soon as I walk in the door, he goes, hey, Jay, go over and like tap the mouse on the computer there. And I just didn't even think about what it was, and tap it, and it's just his screensaver. It's just me and my dick out. And that's the day I found out. I was like, he sent it to everybody.
That's how you found out?
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah. Well, he's like, well, what do you want me to do, buddy? He's like, you have to get it flagged. I'm like,
You have to show
call your other gay friends
call
or
your
something.
gay friends.
Like, don't fucking. You told everybody I know.
By the
Look
way,
at
you
this.
only get horrible voicemails. Like, you should never listen to a voicemail.
I don't listen to my how much my voicemails are clogged up.
What did you ever talk to the girl that did that ever again?
No. I think I saw her like in the background of a comedy club once.
You did?
Like, walk in. Yeah, well, you know Artie Fuqua, who's like, he's the host of the Comedy Cellar all the time.
Yeah.
He didn't know the extent of like how bad that story went. Probably in a year after all that happened, when I was on stage at the Cellar one time, Artie Fuqua, I just see him like fumbling around in the hallway, and he comes in with her, and he's like, look, dude. And I was like, I'm like, can you get her out of here? And she was gone before I got off stage. But like, no, she was wild, that side chick. And the weirdest thing about it, Juilliard flautist.
Really?
Like one of those reserved life.
It's a pretty I mean, you guys were obviously younger when this happened.
Sure.
But that is like, I mean, obviously she's enraged to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But it's particularly, I mean, it's a pretty cruel thing to do, you know? Like, I mean, as much as we like can make light, it's pretty cruel to do it.
Oh no, it was horrible. Yeah. But it came and went, thank God. This is not the internet that it is today, which I would have been, at this point I would have owned it, I guess, too.
You'd have to. You'd have to.
Do, making your album cover.
Yeah.
There's really nothing else you could do.
That's
it's like,
the only way to
it's
get through
out
that.
there now. Yeah, and once the things come out,
man.
anything you own, that is the beauty of comedy, particularly. Anything you own becomes like, you know, it's like normalized that like Jim Norton's into trans. Like no one's even anymore like, can you believe that? It's just like, yeah, it's this thing.
It's a great lesson for, I think, other people out, because comedians kind of do it the best.
Yeah.
We lean into our flaws. If you fuck up, you can't deny it. You just got to be like, yep.
No, it's a virtue too.
Yeah.
Everything that you hated about yourself, like now is great. Like I was scared at this moment. I got beat up.
Yeah.
I lost this fight. I lost this argument. It's much more, but I always think that's the simplest of like people relate to that. Like Def Jam was so interesting to me because it was such a moment in time, and it doesn't really exist anymore. Not even, there's Black Circuit still for sure.
Yeah.
But that era of like mid 90s, comedy started mimicking like hip hop in that it was long bits about how good they eat pussy.
Yeah.
How much they, you know, how long their dick strokes are, and like all. It was very crazy, like braggadocious comedy, because I'm like, it was a real testament to that time, because I'm like, I feel like no one everything.
No, that's
not me and my girlfriend will hook up with girls from time to time, and anytime that's happened, because we've told stories on things before.
Yeah.
People always go, oh, when am I going to end up being one of your stories? I'm like, not if it's awesome. Like if it's awesome, there's no point going on and be like, guess what?
Yeah, no.
Had a threesome last night. It was pretty great. Everyone was satisfied. Like nobody wants to hear that shit. It's like if we brought a girl back who ended up being a lunatic or wouldn't leave, or
that's how you end up.
Those are the stories you tell. Yeah, where fucking
all the
haywire.
stories that, like, anything that ends up in your act in any way, it's like it's a failure or a fuck up. Here's how I fucked up.
Because the masses relate to that much more than the wins.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Much more like stumbling in the shit.
If you're talking about on stage like how good you've got it and how things work out and how you're killing it, everyone's just gonna be like, oh, okay. Like,
the punchline of last night, he goes, so then I kicked both their asses. You guys have been amazing.
Good night. Yeah. No, yeah.
That's when everybody learned, you don't fuck with Big Jay Oakerson. Fuck you, good night.
No, you did. Yeah,
that's what I thought was weird about the Chris Rock ending of the thing. I was like, she was like, my mama told me, always be a pussy. Clunk. I'm like, I don't know if that's the way to handle that.
I just feel like I've even done bits before where I'm like, this is, what's not working here? Like trying to figure it out. And pivoted part of the story to be like the
Negative.
loser in it. Yeah, negative. Yeah. And then like all of a sudden it's way more endearing, you know?
Yeah. I had a friend who like, he had a lot of like, very handsome guy, and he had a lot of jokes about like being handsome. And it wasn't, he wouldn't do well. He's a funny guy, but like it wasn't connecting with audiences at all.
Yeah.
And then like one day, he's a younger comic than me, so it was like he was looking for like advice to this degree, which was such an easy. When he started telling me about when he was younger, these tics and like, you know, Tourette's type things he would have, and he was a weirdo and like a really strange kid, and he looked kind of strange when he was younger, you know. And when he was telling me this, and he called his mom to prove that he would have to make these noises before he went to bed, and he had to do it a certain amount of times because of the OCD.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, if you just even lay that out in some way, you're at least giving them an excuse for why now
they can
you're
cheer
like
for you
clearly
a
like
bit.
a confident like whatever guy. It's because like you were this little weirdo, and it changed his comedy like in that regard. Like not because of me, he was talented, but I mean like the angle of that. I was like, dude, you're telling stories like I could tell a story about being like grossed out by a fat girl, because the irony is like, who am I to be grossed out? Like the funny thing about that is like she's probably grossed out by you. Like, yeah, but I made the choice first.
Yeah.
Like I got it in before she did. So yeah, like no one like very few people relate to wins, but everyone relates to losses.
Yeah, I remember watching
100%.
a girl one time, pretty girl, and she was like, she made some joke about people being like, "What are you, a model or something?" And like it felt so flat. And then I didn't know her. I just walked up to her. I was like, you know why that's not working, right? She was like, "What?" I go, "It's because it's believable. That you're a model. Like,
you're too pretty for this.
You're too pretty for that. Like you have to either change what you say there or drop that altogether." Or,
it is funny that wild good looks. It's maybe one of the only businesses where it's like, I remember Dov Davidoff saying about Judah Friedlander when he was kind of coming up and starting to get successful.
Yeah.
Dov Davidoff just going like, son of a bitch sold his soul to the devil for that look. Just like his look in general. And it's like, it's like he's like a wacky looking dude. And it resonates.
It resonates, yeah. People embrace that. Any flaw, like it's in comedy, like the older you get, uglier you get, the fatter you get, the more like all that stuff, that's an advantage in comedy.
Yeah, your negatives are all your virtues in that, because people can understand that, which is great. It really is. It's like it's been a fun thing, and because when you're young, those are all exactly, you want to like brag, you want to get pussy, and you want to do all those things. So it's great when you get older and go, I couldn't, or I fucked up, or I thought I was, and I blew it.
I thought I was this. I'm not. I'm just like you guys.
yeah. I don't get laid like you.
Like you fucking losers. Yeah. Poor fuck. Now, it's for you, buddy. Now, are you you're back to square one, right? Because we were just talking about this.
Yeah.
Like the familiar feeling of your special comes out and you're like, oh, I got to do this all over again.
And you're like, I don't even know how I came up with that stuff, that last stuff.
Yeah. And then like when you get to the taping, you're like, oh, I did it. Like I got here.
Yeah.
And then you give it up and you're like, there's no way I'll do this again.
Yeah.
But then you realize that you will do it again. But that feeling of like, I don't think I can do this again always comes back.
At least for a little bit.
For a little bit, yeah.
Until you're like, well, how do I even find out if this is funny?
What do you like, how do you start over? What do you just?
I just start going and doing like all like crowd
stuff?
sets, just kind of, but always with like leading questions to like specific questions to purposefully
Stuff
get
that
like,
you're thinking about?
Not even that I'm thinking about, just like jump off points that I'm like, like the most rudimentary example is like maybe like, I don't know, like have I ever like have a funny thing where I fucked someone in public and like it went haywire, and I'm like, hey, who here is like, what's the most public place you've ever fucked? You know what I mean? Like you get, and it sparks up and you're like, oh, I guess I have done that.
Yeah, and you start thinking about that.
Yeah. There's a someone said something the other day about getting like roadhead or something like that, and it drung up. I was like, man, you know what's funny? Like I have gotten roadhead when I was younger, and heavier, and it's weird now, older, slimmer, with a much bigger car. Yeah, I don't see a scenario where I can get my dick sucked while driving without her right ear honking the horn the whole. I don't think it's a possible thing. And that came of someone just kind of said, so it's not like the, the whole flushed out thing, but the idea of that is like, because I asked just like, where's the weirdest place you ever fucked or something. So like, that's, it's so deflating, but any time in my career I've done like, I've always envied where it's like, hey, you want to hang out and play a video game? Like, I'm going to go get some writing done. I'm going to do some writing. I got to do the notepad. I'm envious of that because I'm like, when I've done that, forced, like, okay, here we go. Let's comedy writing time.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, as simple as like, what is with these airplanes?
Yeah.
The subways are weird.
The people are weird too.
Racism is out there, everyone. It's the most basic concepts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I work on the fly, for some reason
No, I think that's why I hate, I don't like giving advice about how to do it.
Yeah.
I just like doing things like this where you go, what do you do? And you just hear about, because like what works for you might not work for the next. I mean, I know people who go like, they really thrive on a laptop and a notepad, and I sit down and I write. And I'm like, that's cool.
Trim the fat and get this going and everything. Yeah,
The only time that I feel like that works, there's an advantage to that, is if I have something that I'm like, I wish this part of this were better. Mm-hmm. If I sit down and I write that part of the thing that's already working,
you find it,
and then you can be like, what's the line here? I wish, and then you write out the line, and you're like, there's a reason this isn't working, right? This is not strong enough. Then I can like write a line.
Yeah.
But to sit down, like, here are some thoughts for the day. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like the United States is really dominating things in a way that's not fair to. I mean, what the fuck am I writing? I don't know what to write.
It's funny. I could do what I do pretty good, and it was always a good friend when I started with, Kurt Metzger, and we've been friends for so long. He's such a writer. I don't even know if he's like big on like writing the whole joke out, but like it's formatted in his head.
Yeah.
By the time he's going to say it, and I've always been impressed that like writers. That's why I just did the Bert roast, and it was like difficult for me to do that because I have to write it myself because I'm insecure about my writing, that I don't think I'm a good writer.
Yeah.
That if I do other people's jokes the whole way, I go, you're going to hate having me on this thing. I'm going to bibliography everybody. Like and that seems so weird on a roast. I did that on Louis J. Gomez's roast that we did at Skankfest a few years ago. I wrote all my stuff. And Josh Adam Myers had said one line to me that like verbatim what he said was really funny. And I was like, I'll keep that in there. And I just remember sitting on it. It's so lame. It's almost like a tick, like a nervous tick you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I said blah, blah, blah. And then I did the Josh Adam Myers tag.
Yeah.
And it got a big laugh. And I was like, Josh Adam Myers said that. I guess don't just give it to him. I go, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
I don't want to take credit for that. I'm a piece of shit. I don't know why.
Because you're a good guy.
But also, the writers, Tony Hinchcliffe is a writer. Kurt's a writer.
Yeah.
What's amazing about Kurt is Kurt can call me with like, and he's such an outside the box thinker, like the most bizarre concepts and outside thing. And I can help him like spike a punchline for it.
Yeah.
But it's just my mind never works to like have a 15-minute bit about like the black mamba snake's eating habits.
Yeah.
But he's like somehow has got some masterful thing about it. I'm always impressed with that. Yeah. He just knows how to do that. And I'm not good with subjects. I'm always like, that's why when I did my second, I think, crowd work album, I was going to, I did call it. I told myself I wasn't going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing was because, I look when people trivialize your comedy. The one for me always comes down to like, oh, I can do Big Jay. Hey, you ever fucked a black guy? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the problem is, it is a wildly amazing jumping off point.
Yeah,
Like, forget just the obvious jokes about fucking a black guy.
Yeah.
There's so many more things that delves into.
Yeah.
That you could branch off of. It's just a good like, it's like having a good first word for Wordle. Mm-hmm. Like your number one word just gets people going.
Yeah, it gets them going.
So while basic, like I said, I've never like, I don't ask like a lot of questions that would be like that. What's your favorite apex predator? Like I don't really have jokes like that. Sure. It's always going to be something a little more like dirtier.
Yeah, but that's what like gets you. I mean, that ends up going for you. Yeah, I have to like either from the past pull out something like I did at that storytelling show. Like I'm like, okay, maybe like, cause for me, I go, maybe telling that will fuel an actual bit,
sure.
Or I have to like talk about something that just like happened like today. Like that's how I have to start trying to figure this stuff out,
Yeah.
There's no other way for me. I'll never forget. I don't remember if I told you. I've said it somewhere that like I was blown away when I did New Faces in Montreal, and Metzger was in our group.
Oh yeah.
And I remember being like, "Oh, he's the best comedian of us," because we were all in a fucking panic about doing our 7 minutes, and like we're young, so we're not like loose.
Yeah.
And like we're like, you start with this word, and you know what I mean, like so scripted.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what you do when you're brand new. You're like, do it just like this.
Something like Montreal too. Like when you go, is such a different thing. I went.
The pressure you put on yourself.
I did New Faces 4 years before Kirk got it. Kirk got it where it would almost seem like it was too late. Like, why did he get it?
It was
like,
mine. He was in mine. He was 07. So you must have done it 03.
I did it probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it like pretty quick, like 4 years in the comedy. I got new. But here's the thing: I went up there with a manager who, all bad advice. Yeah. Dress this way. Do this. They want your sitcom. You got to tell them about your home. And the problem was I was so young. Because I didn't have experiences.
Yeah.
It's like my experience would have all just been like, I'm like, we wanted a sitcom about just recently moving out of my mom's house. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem like it was my world, but I took all that bad advice.
Yeah.
Did a set I wasn't happy with. What was cool to watch. Like I didn't have my wings spread there until I got to the Nasty show to be able to do that.
I remember I watched yours. The first in 07 you did
with Patrice.
You did a spot at this. It was a pretty big room.
Yeah.
And we went in the back and we watched your set. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was
great.
That was like my thing that got me in with like Montreal. Well, my New Faces was unmemorable, but I went that same year was Kurt and you guys doing New Faces.
Yeah.
And when I watched Kurt and New Faces that year, I'm like, damn, this many years in the comedy. Seems like it's weird to do New Face, but man, was he ready for it. Like he stood out.
Well, he stood out because he also, whereas we were like, these are the exact jokes and stay like this. He was like, Canada fucking sucks. Like he went up there and like shit on Canada. And we were all like,
remember the moon joke?
Yeah, the moon joke. And then I remember that I was like, oh, this isn't like everyone's doing the best stuff they've ever done. And this is clearly stuff that he wrote.
He's just doing a set.
Here, like doing a spot at the Cellar.
Loose.
I remember just being like, wow, because that was too advanced for like I felt like we were like that's
everything. Also, the high drama of being younger too. Because I said I had a daughter young, so she was like when I did Montreal, she was probably like maybe a year or two old or something.
Yeah.
I just remember standing in the back in a short sleeve button down shirt and straight leg jeans that I would have never worn on my own. I think maybe even in a dress shoe with those jeans. So bad. And standing in the back before I get brought on stage, staring at a picture of my daughter, being like, let's get this for her. Here we go. We're going to do it. And you're just like, then I went out there and did fine. Just at best, okay.
That's so weird that they told you that like you should dress as like not you.
Bad management at the time. But it was that was also, it was always like dressed like this, the sitcom thing. And then also we had a host who, I don't know him very well. It's not a dig on him. It was just a weird hosting choice. Sean Cullen, do you know that? He's a Canadian guy. Wears like a fedora hat. He's very soft-spoken. He's got a very unique style of comedy, I'd say, for what it is he does. Yeah. Wow. It's weird seeing how old he is. But he looked more like the top right one.
Who was that guy? Who was the Canadian? Like he had such a specific cadence, and they loved him. And he would go,
Jeremy Hotz.
Is it Jeremy Hotz? I was barely doing it.
Is it where he sort of does like the snicker like to himself? Yeah, Jeremy Hotz.
Pull that guy up.
It's HOTZ.
That's him. Yeah, and this right here.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? That's a genre of comedy. I had no idea what to name it.
Yeah.
Kathleen Madigan, Tom Cotter. It's not, they all have their own thing, but that is like a Wendy Liebman. It's kind of that same, like the subtle thing underneath.
Yeah, underneath. Yeah. He has like a real.
But man, but that host, Sean Cullen.
Yeah.
The way he brought me on, like, he's just like a heavy stylistic comic. So his intros were like, I'm getting ready to go out there like first or second. I was also early in the lineup, which was like nerve wracking. And he goes, all right, your next comic is coming from a planet far, far away. Everybody comes from Mars. He performs comedy clubs all over Mars. And he's a fantastic Mars comedian. No, he's not from Mars at all. He lives in New York City, everybody. It's Big Jay Oakerson. Like, it's like, and you were almost like, do I, now?
Yeah.
Or do I walk, is that the intro?
Is that the intro to Jeremy Hotz? Not the New Faces. It was a few years later when I did another set there, and he was like, "This next guy, he has a podcast," and I was like, "I'm standing there back." I was like, "That's the fucking thing," and then he goes, and then he said something like, "I wouldn't leave him around my kids," or like, "I wouldn't leave." I was like, "The fuck kind of intro is this?" And then I go out, I do the set, and then he was like, "You get what I was doing, right?" I was like, "I don't know what the fuck you were doing."
No,
like,
I don't.
I don't get what you were doing. What the fuck are you saying? I got a podcast. Like, thanks.
Bobby Slayton and me had such a rocky beginning to our like knowing each other because I opened for McCaroline's once and did well. And when he got on stage, he's like, you know, I gave him a huge intro.
You did?
Yeah, I gave him like a big, like, because I was like, in my mind, I was like, I was such a fan of comedy growing up, like all of it. So I'm like, yo, this is Bobby Slayton.
Yeah,
like,
Pitbull, baby.
Yeah, the Pitbull of comedy. So I'm like, I gave him this big, huge intro, and he gets on stage and goes like, all right, how about it for that fat fuck, huh? Everybody goes, you like that fat fuck? And he starts just like calling me like horrible things. And then I'm like,
Jesus Christ.
And then the crowd almost got weird with him. Like, it got so mean that the crowd did have like a line on it. And he's like, oh, all right. And then he just did his set. He did great, you know, to his audience. And then but I was like, yo, and I have to, so the situation was 2 shows one night. I got it called to do it last minute. I said I couldn't close out the second show. So I could host it, bring him on, but then I got to go. You got to voice of God end the show. No problem. So, but when I'm waiting for the first show to end, I go, I might not be on the second show. When he comes off stage, I'm going to be like, what the fuck was that, dude?
Yeah.
Why are you like, do we have a problem? Did I do something you didn't like on stage? And I was ready, like, geared myself up for like, you know, Bobby Slayton or not, dude, fuck you.
Yeah.
And as soon as he gets off stage, I walk over to him with like a mission.
Yeah.
You know, and he, before I say a word, he goes, hey, he goes, sorry about the shit with the fat fuck. He goes, I was trying to be funny, but, you know, it's like, I don't think he goes, you know, it didn't even go over well. The crowd loved you. So, you know, sorry about that. And I you know, and I was, it was such a half-ass apology, but I was just so, it got me right back to like, you're the pit bull, dude. You're the bull. And I give him like all the, I give him all like the sweet, like, you know, I'm like, and then we bullshit for like 5 minutes only. And then I'm like, thank God I was, because in my mind I was like, I'm going to argue with him and then I'm going to give him like a real shit intro on the next show. But in 3 sentences of him just kind of being like, phew, that didn't go good when I was busting your balls up there. So, you know, it goes, they really loved you. You know, sorry about that or whatever. Just a cast off thing. And I was like, all's forgiven, dude. Like, you're the best. And then I go on stage the second show and give him, goes, everybody from this, the Pitbull of comedy, the greatest Bobby Slayton. He goes, you guys got me that for that fat fuck. I mean, even got to fuck up here with that fat ass. And then I had to leave. Like, and then I didn't even get to like, there was no confrontation at all.
So he kept at it.
He just did it all over again. And then I left and I was like,
man.
He stopped me at every possible like time of like, where you were like, I'm going to stick up for myself. Like there was something that was like, what?
I have heard some hilarious stories about him talking shit to people.
Oh, dude.
He who opened for him? Well, Fultron had a great story about he goes like Bobby was like, I don't let people buy me a drink, you know, like they try to buy me drinks. And Matt goes something like, oh really? Like they didn't try to buy me a drink. He goes, yeah, you're not Bobby fucking Slayton, you know? And then he turned around and walked away, which is amazing. And then oh my God, I remember laughing so hard at Patrick Melton's story about opening for him. This is like a fucking decade ago. Yeah. And Patrick's big dude. And he said that like they're in the green room and the improv just brings like chicken fingers and fries. And he said that Bobby looked at it and looked at him and goes, you really think a fat fuck like you should be eating shit like that? And he's like, God damn, dude. And then he starts to eat it. And he's like, you're fat as fuck, man. You really shouldn't eat that shit.
Dude, we did.
I was like, this is what he said out of the gate?
It's wild, dude. We did I remember when he hosted the Nasty show that me and Patrice did that year.
Yeah.
Same year we're talking about. And what was so funny was how many people, like the older comics, sometimes would have a beef with Patrice.
Yeah.
Because of Tough Crowd. That's what it always kind of came down to. Because they would come on the Tough Crowd, and then Patrice just didn't have the reverence for them.
Right.
He didn't react or was like, it's Bobby Slayton. I could probably let him, he could talk shit about me, but I'm not really going to go at him. Like Patrice would just like, I don't give a shit. So they all didn't like him. That year, in Montreal. I remember Patrice. Well, one with Bobby Slayton, he called him. Like Bobby was him just didn't really talk to each other. You know, they was kind of standoffs to each other. And then Bobby came out of the bathroom like, you know, all goosed up. And he was like, Bobby, I bet you're the only millionaire that still does coke with a rolled up one, which I thought was funny. But and then it was funny, like Bobby, after Patrice died, he had said something where he got shit from someone for saying shitty stuff about Patrice.
Yeah.
Kind of. And then he was like, we did Ron and Fez, I think, together. And it was just so funny hearing him. Like, he was just talking too fast. And this got him like shit online too, because he was like, look, Patrice was a good comic. Everyone says he's a good guy. I didn't get along with him, but you know, I didn't kill him. Like, I was thinking this is moving on. But you know, I didn't kill him. It's a weird thing to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's an interesting career, like a guy like Bobby Slayton. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, your audience ages with you, but where do they go exactly?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like the Denver Comedy Works, and it's not like a big theater in town. It's
Right.
like a weird, you know, it's a weird spot to be in.
Yeah, and having like he's been
Respected name, but you know, the Dom Irera was a funny one. That Patrice, this is Patrice getting me in shit with people, being his friend.
yeah.
Because Patrice didn't make it for the first night of the Nasty show for whatever reason. I forget what he had to do. And Dom Irera was on that weekend too. It was one of my first times really working with Dom Irera.
Yeah.
And Robbie Prawl was still in charge then. And it was my first time with him. And it was a room, the green room was just me, Robbie Prawl, and Dom Irera. And Dom Irera is talking to Robbie. He goes, hey, when Patrice comes tomorrow, can like, I don't want to go after him or whatever. Or don't put me like right near him. Something like that. And it was like, and Robbie's like, okay, Dom, like why? And he goes, because I fucking hate him. Like, I don't like the guy, whatever it was. And I just kind of overheard that. I'm like, oh, wow, that's weird. And so when Patrice gets to town, I go to his room, we're bullshitting, and I go, dude, what is your thing with Dom Irera? And he's like, why? So I told him, I go, I was thinking, like, he said, he doesn't like you or something. I was like, how did you know you knew him? He was like, oh, man, it's just tough crowd shit. Those guys come on, and I just talk over them, and they get shitty about it. They're a bunch of old wash-ups and whatever, you know, it's just his casting off it. And I was like, I mean, don't make it a thing at all, because, like, it's not a thing, but I was like, I was just curious, like, what that thing would possibly be. He's like, man, I don't even oversweat that shit at all. Who cares? And then later that night, in the green room, was just me and Dom Irera, and he was like, hey, if I'd have known that you were, like, good friends with him, I wouldn't have said that in front of you. I'm sorry. And I was like, what? He goes, I wouldn't have said that I hated Patrice in front of you if I didn't know you were friends, you know, because, like, you told him, I assume. And I was like, what? No. It can only possibly be me.
Yeah.
And I just committed. To this day, I've never told Dom Irera that I did. I've worked with Dom a zillion times. I know Dom at this point well. And it's so funny. I think on other shows I've even told the story, but I've never told Dom. I go, I did, by the way, tell Patrice that you hated him. But like that, I just
did Patrice tell
full-blown
him?
Yes.
Oh.
I just full-blown, I just never broke the thing. I'm like, no, that's weird.
I've pulled that move so
That's
many times.
weird that I got back to him. I go,
He said that I said that? Oh, you're saying that you think I... No, I wouldn't.
And then, of course,
have
you go
done
back to
that.
Patrice, like, Patrice, I thought you were going to say anything. He goes, the more I thought about it, it bugged me. Like, he's just like, so I just sandbagged you.
Yeah. You got to check out Big Jay's new special, Dog Belly, right now on YouTube. Go to Big Jay Oakerson on YouTube and check out BigJayOakerson.com for tour dates. Thank you for coming, dude. It was a lot of fun.
Big J Comedy.com.
I'm sorry. BigJComedy.com.
I wouldn't have corrected it until they highlighted it.
BigJComedy.com.
Your staff really came big on that one.
For tour dates. Check that out. And yeah, dude, always good to see you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
And yeah, and congrats on the special.
Thank you, man.
Bert and Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call Two Bears, One Cave. No scripts, a bit of booze, amateur partology. Dirty jokes, raunchy humor, no apologies. Here's what we call Two Bears, One Cave.